Today on All Caps. The report that stopped a nation. We're confronting the chilling new evidence of the October 7th sexual violence and the global silence that followed. Plus, politicizing the pitch. Why Lamine Yamal's Palestinian flag stunt is causing a storm in the world of sports. Next, leadership under fire. We're examining the fallout in New York City and why Mayor Mamdani's policies are raising alarms for Israel and the Jewish community. Then, propaganda at the polls. We're exposing the shocking anti-Israel smears found in California's official election pamphlets. And finding the funny in Aliyah, the American Alim using humor to bridge the culture gap between Israel and the US. Finally, joining us for an exclusive interview, legal legend and world-renowned jurist, Professor Alan Dershowitz. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to All Caps. It is so good to see you all again. Ladies, let's start. What caught your eyes this week?
Well, you all need to know about the Silence No More report. It was a 300-page investigation that happened over the past 2 years detailing the sexual atrocities committed by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. We learned a lot about what we already knew, but there were many more details that we did not know that were revealed from this investigation. So what they did was they interviewed over 400 witnesses. They reviewed 10,000 videos and photos to come to these conclusions. So I do want to give a trigger warning that some of the things I'm about to share are extremely disturbing, but I think it's extremely important as well to discuss them. So we did learn that women were gang raped on October 7th and then executed. They found nails inside of female genitalia. Hostages related to each other were forced to commit sexual acts to each other in front of Hamas terrorists. And they were able to find evidence that this was systematic and planned torture of these victims. So they even found documents in Arabic with translations to Hebrew of phrases like, take off your pants, open your legs. So I couldn't sleep well after reading that, but we can't forget the crimes that were committed on October 7th.
And just to tackle this, the New York Times, just a day before, published this horrible, horrific report, which is disguised by an op-ed, but we all know it was an investigative report. This is how they define it, of allegedly Palestinians being raped by Israeli soldiers, prison authority guards, sailors, Israelis, all kind. Even they trained dogs to so-called rape Palestinians. This is the most horrific blood libel that was against Israel so far and by far. The entire op-ed is based on testimonies of anonymous people, of course not revealing their names. It's based on a report by the UN that already discriminated against Israel. And this report is based on a Hamas activist that came and headed the whole thing. And the New York Times, because this report that's coming out, India knew that it's coming out, came to diminish this horrible rape, sex crimes that the Palestinians committed against Israelis on October 7th. This is the horrific affair. And I can tell you that in Shurat Adin, we are thinking for a whole year now how to sue the New York Times, how to bring them to justice. It's, I would say, almost impossible because you can't sue for freedom of speech. But I think this time they really crossed the line.
But they don't need to investigated people for this?
They said they did, and it's anonymous. What is anonymous? What is anonymous? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, a big lawsuit can sometimes just make a headline, sometimes scare, sometimes intimidate. I feel like even though sometimes you can't win, you must do something, because this is really, enough is enough. I hope that you and Shurat Adin will bring these people to justice. And I think that sometimes it's not the paper. I would say it's the people. I want to see the names of the people. I want to see the journalists. I want to know, who are these people?
Obviously, it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, a very prominent one, and one that covers sex crimes in war zones constantly to give it legitimacy. But this article was totally...
I'm curious if he ever did a report
on his
so detailed on what happened on October 7th to the Israeli women.
Probably not.
Of course not.
Sorry. This
very heavy.
This is really hard. Okay, now let's talk about America. Look what happened in California.
Wow.
So surprising. Let's see.
Pretty breaking news coming out of California. This story is nuts, and I mean genuinely nuts. This is Eileen Wang, and she is the mayor of Arcadia in California, and she just pled guilty to acting in America as an illegal agent of the Chinese government. She just resigned and is facing up to 10 years in prison. And this story should be breaking national news.
I love this guy. I love this this YouTuber, but I disagree. It's not nuts. It's not nuts. It's anticipated. When you let China, a communist dictatorship, to be the second biggest donor to American academia, when you let them bring TikTok to the West, to America, when you let China lobbying in Congress, what do you expect? When you let Qatar be the biggest donor of American academia, Qatar pushes anti-Western propaganda in every outlet in the world, what do you expect? I don't understand. What are the decision makers in America expect their new generation to be if these are the people that are fueling them? That's why the new generation thinks that the West is evil, dictatorships are superiorly moral, and terrorism is a justified resistance. It's not nuts. It's nuts that they're letting them in, but this story is just like obvious.
And this is the mayor. This is not a student.
Yeah,
This is like
and you have Mamdani.
top of the
you have her, Mamdani. That's what you're gonna get.
You seed it and it grows.
Exactly.
Yeah. This week we saw Lamine Yamal, the player, football player in Barcelona. They won the championship in Spain. And we saw him with the Palestinian flag, waving the Palestinian flag. Yeah, there is the celebration. He raised this flag, and for me, it's super ironic because if me and Lamine Yamal were black Palestinians and we were living in Gaza, for example, we will not have the same rights or equal rights. And it's not something that I say. It's not my personal opinion. Black Palestinians in Gaza live in the neighborhood that called El Abad, means slaves.
Wow. El Abad?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And they also talking about discrimination and racism against them in Gaza. So when people are shouting apartheid in Israel, maybe they need to ask the black Palestinians how they live in Gaza. And maybe Lamine Yamal need to know who he's fighting for. Like, these people don't accept who you are. If you were living in Gaza, you will live in El Abad streets, in slave streets. So, maybe he need to learn a little bit.
Maybe he should go and reside it for a couple of days. See how it really feels. New York City has always been a second home for the Jewish people, but lately the leadership under Mayor Mamdani has raised serious concerns. And we're asking, is New York still standing with Israel and its Jewish community?
Since when did New York start looking like London?
Yeah.
Jews are feeling unsafe in the streets. We have terror supporters waving terrorist flags in a city where 9/11 happened and where 10% of the population is Jewish, yet they suffer 55 to 60% of the hate crimes in the city.
Wow.
And what is Mamdani's response? How does he react? Nothing. Silent. Accepted. As a matter of fact, he came and criticized an auction in a Jewish synagogue to sell homes in Judea and Samaria, and said you cannot sell houses in occupied territories. At the same time, they were waving Hezbollah's flags, and he said nothing about that.
What do you expect? I mean, he was, I think, part of SJP, but I think one of the first people to.
Yeah, he co-founded a branch
Co-founded
for students
SJP,
for justice in Palestine,
which is the most anti-Semitic, anti-Israel organization. Some say funded by Hamas, but we talked about it, that it's hard to find the money where SJP is taking it from. So what do you expect? Like, what do you expect? I mean, this is all expected.
and this is only a few months into his 4-year term. Let's think about that.
Yeah.
What will happen 4 years from now? How long, God forbid, will it take for a tragedy to happen?
I think that it's all planned.
God forbid.
out. What do you think about that?
You already have the deterioration of Jewish people leaving New York. As a matter of fact, not only Jewish people, a lot of people leave New York under Mamdani because he came with this financial plan. He's going to give free education to the poor. He's going to give free
bus.
And perhaps service and social everything for free.
Yeah.
And how he's going to fund it? By taxing the rich.
Yeah.
By taxing the billionaires. He's not going to get like a tax, income tax for the billionaires. What do you think a billionaire will do? Will remain in New York? No, they're all shifting. They're all.
You go to Miami now, it's filled with New York money now.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
my opinion, this is all planned.
I agree with you.
I think he wants the billionaires out, and I think
Why?
Qatar, because I think Qatar is waiting to buy all the Jewish property. I mean, if you look at what Qatar is doing, they're
In London, Stan.
In London, they're buying every important real estate. They're trying. They have more. Qatar has more property in London than the royal family. Qatar's idea is to take over the West and buy it all and get control over it. And that is the plan with Mamdani. He's not doing it without knowing what he's doing. He's doing exactly what he can do to bring down New York and have it Qatar buy New York and take over New York. And this is what I think. And, take that clip, run it 5 years from now and see if I'm right.
You know what was surprised to me to hear that 30% of the Jewish, of his voter was Jewish, like a lot of Jews supporting Mamdani. And I was shocking, first of all, like how Jewish can support Mamdani, the one who hate Jewish, the one who hate Israel, and say this out loud. But I think his campaign was so smart.
Yes.
Because he is very, he's there in social media. He approached a lot of young people. And I have cousins in New York, which they're like getting excited from him. He said they're gonna give us a free bus, and they care about their rent, they care about their life there. That the fact that he's gonna do good for the poor people.
Yeah.
But this is just an illusion because he don't really do anything good. It's like in New York, it's still expensive for the poor people, for the students, and for everyone. So
80% of the people who voted for Mamdani live less than 5 years in New York. That's a research I read. And that's what happened. When you have less than 5 years in New York, you come in to this beautiful city that's overwhelming you with everything, including the rent, and everything is expensive. And you go like, why is it so expensive? This should be free. And you don't understand that everything you love about this place is how people worked hard and how people managed to take their American dream and make it a reality. And instead of pushing them to work harder, they're whining, why is it not free?
Yeah.
And that's his game. That's his game plan.
I agree. And Mamdani's wife is not better than him.
she is the worst. Can we see the video that she refused to get the picture, I think, with the Miss Israel?
Yeah.
So guess who sat next to me at a cafe in New York? None other than Zohran Mamdani's wife, Rama Douaji. The same Rama Douaji who posted horribly anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and terror-sympathizing things not that long ago, and also apologized for it. But here's the funny thing. She was willing to take a photo with me until she found out that I was Miss Israel, until I told her that as an Israeli, I was disappointed in seeing the kind of rhetoric she was promoting online.
That's his wife.
Yeah.
She condemned Jews. She really cursed them, and then she regretted. And then she said, when she was really criticized, "I'm not the mayor. I'm just a wife. I'm a private person. I can do whatever I want." And this was exactly what Mamdani does.
But she's
does
only
whatever he wants.
She's only apologized for the news, because when she met Israeli, look what happened. She don't want even to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're in big trouble with them.
At the end of the day, the New Yorkers are going to have to vote him out of office. There's elections again in November 2029. And I pity the people who didn't vote for him but still have to live in New York. But that's a democracy, unfortunately. And these kind of people, they use our democracy to take out our democracy.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that I don't like to say you can't. I don't like to say it's too late. I don't like all these things. I believe that there's always a solution. I think the Jews of New York should accept that they have failed, that they didn't unite on one person to vote for, that they didn't call all their friends who share the same Judeo-Christian values.
Cuomo was a very weak candidate, unfortunately, compared to...
Yeah, but they split the votes. Their votes were split. They didn't unite. There's a time to ask yourself questions and to blame. My mother taught me something very powerful. She said, no matter how bad you get hurt, don't ever point outward. Always point back at yourself, because the only control you have is over your own.
Jews are very proud that they voted for Mamdani. Mm-hmm. Jews are voting
even now. Even now, you feel
the one who voted for him.
I hear a lot of Jewish people who are surprised by a lot of new decisions, and that said, "Oh, but we talked to him. He said something differently." I hear a lot.
I didn't hear any regrets like this. I did hear a regret from Alan Dershowitz. We're gonna hear from him in a second. But Jews always voted for liberal, progressive candidates. They just distinguish themselves from Israel, and therefore they go just pro their own interests. There is nothing that can turn their vote into pro-Israeli voting.
But Mamdani did lie to them. He said in his campaign he will fight anti-Semitism, and in his victory speech, he also mentioned that he will fight anti-Semitism.
So.
And look what he
didn't do.
Jews. I have one last thing to say about this. What did you expect, Jews of New York, from someone who is so hostile towards the only Jewish state in the world that is surrounded by Arab Muslim states who are relentlessly trying to destroy it? Did you expect that Jews elsewhere would be safe under Mamdani?
To help us understand the broader legal and political landscape, from the Iranian threat to the state of U.S.-Israel relations, we are joined by one of the most brilliant legal minds of our time. He's a fierce defender of truth and legendary voice for the Jewish people. Joining us in a pre-recording interview, Professor Alan Dershowitz. So let's start. If diplomacy with Iran fails, does the U.S. have a moral or legal duty to support or even join military action against Iran's nuclear program?
Absolutely. The United States and Israel have an obligation to the world and to peace to end Iran's nuclear capacity. These two countries are like Britain and France in 1935, when they could have stopped Nazi Germany from rearming and remilitarizing, and they failed to do it, causing 70 million deaths. And if Churchill had been the prime minister in 1935, and he had engaged in a preventive war against Germany, in which, say, 10,000 people had been killed, he would be condemned by history, because history is blind and deaf to the future. It doesn't understand what it prevented. And the same thing is true now. 2026 may go down in history as 1935, as the year in which Iran's nuclear ambitions could have been thwarted but weren't. And so both countries have an obligation to stop Iran from developing or coming close to developing a nuclear arsenal. And if the United States won't do it because of electoral politics in the 2026 midterm elections, then Israel should do it alone, and the United States should give Israel a green light to make sure that this job is completed and Iran never, ever, under any circumstances, comes close to developing the kind of nuclear arsenal that they might use and would create a repetition of what happened in Europe in the late 30s and 1940s. So yes, there is an obligation.
Is the new US-Iran nuclear deal still realistic, or is it simply dangerous illusion? Even if they get to a nuclear agreement, they still abandon the two parts that Israel is very concerned about, which are the ballistic missiles and the proxy funding of Iran. What's your view?
I don't agree with that. I think that Iran is not going to be capable of doing 10 times more than it was able to do before the war. I think this war will go down in history as a very important stopgap against Iran, not only nuclear ambitions, but rocket capacity, and also its use of surrogates, Hamas and Hezbollah, and the Houthis. But the job has to be finished, and the ultimate end result should be regime change. The ultimate end result, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but certainly within a short period of time, has to be the end of the mullahs regime, because their goal is the destruction of the big Satan, the United States, the small Satan, Israel, the use of surrogates like Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, and the use of its rocket capacity. But the first step has to be the nuclear arsenal. Now, no deal will be good if it's just on paper. Promises by Iran are broken all the time. The only deal that could work is if all the enriched uranium is removed and Iran is not allowed, with real inspections, to re-enrich any uranium. It has to be on the ground. It has to be a practical deal, not a theoretical deal. The only actual guarantee of that is regime change, but that's difficult to do without troops on the ground. But that has to be the goal. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that's the goal. Originally, the United States indicated that was the goal, but the United States is backing away from that goal because it's very difficult. But there are groups in Iran and outside of Iran that have the capacity, with help from the United States, to effectuate regime change. Again, maybe not now, but in the fairly near future.
Alan, we are witnessing a deeply troubling rise in anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world. As a former professor at Harvard and more broadly as a public intellectual, do you identify a dangerous shift in academic discourse in the United States towards Israel and Jews?
Absolutely. Academia has been the problem, as it's always been the problem. Nazism started at the University of Munich, the University of Berlin, and the University of Heidelberg. Stalinism was supported by university students. Castro was supported by university students. Pol Pot was supported by academics, including American academics like Noam Chomsky. So don't be surprised if academia is the center of anti-Semitism. It always has been and always will be. Why it's so important for academic institutions not to have total freedom and lack of responsibility about what it produces. So, yes, I think academia is a big problem. Let me state the problem more broadly. I have devoted my entire life to defending the rights of others. Im ein ani li mili. If I am for myself alone, what am I? If not now, when? So I have spent most of my time on defending the rights of African Americans, of gay people, of women. Today, the priority for every civil rights advocate, The priority has to be the fight against anti-Semitism. That is the most pressing civil rights, civil liberties, human rights issue in the world today, the growing anti-Semitism. And anybody who doesn't get on the right side of that issue is on the wrong side of history. And so my priorities for the rest of my life, I'm 87 years old, my priorities for the rest of my life will be the Jewish people and the nation state of the Jewish people.
So we take your pledge and ask about Israel, not necessarily anti-Semitism, because for years Israel has faced relentless criticism in the international media, particularly since October 7th. So the question is, in your view, what has Israel gotten wrong in terms of public diplomacy and communicating its narrative to the world? Is this battle for public opinion becoming a lost cause? Or are these concrete ways that Israel could improve its communications and strategic messaging?
Both are true. I think that Israel can do more to promote Jewish values and the values of Israel and to defend the truth about Israel and about the Jewish people. Both Israel and the Jewish people can do more. But I'm not sure what they do will have a great impact. Look, anti-Semitism was the norm for the last 2,000 years. There was a short moratorium between 1945 and about 2000, the Shoah moratorium, 55 years where discrimination against Jews and against Israel was less. And now it's returned to the norm. Now we're hearing blood libels against Jewish people. We're hearing blood libels against the IDF, against Jewish prison guards. Look, Israel isn't perfect, and its attitude toward settlers who commit crimes on the West Bank is indefensible. And Israel can do more, but they shouldn't do anything ever to sacrifice their own security. That is, Israel's security has to come before public relations. Even if Israel loses the war of public relations in many institutions, as long as it has the ability to defend itself, I think that's very important. Einstein wrote a letter, I have a copy of it, a handwritten letter, to a friend in 1945, just at the end of the Shoah, in which he said, anti-Semitism is a sickness, it's a disease, and it's their disease, not our disease. What we have to do is be prepared to defend ourselves against those who would harm us physically. And I think that has to be the first priority. And Israel is on the vanguard of protecting us. The only reason that the growing anti-Semitism has not and will not produce another Shoah is the IDF and the Israeli ability to defend not only its own citizens, but Jews around the world from increasing and rampant anti-Semitism.
Alan, you were a long time a Democrat. But recently you said that you no longer identified with the party. What was the breaking point?
Well, I was a Democrat since I was 14 years old. I campaigned for Democrats in every single presidential election since John Kennedy in 1960. The Democrats have pushed me out of their party. The Democrats are now nominating Nazis, nominating people who have Totenkopf, swastikas on their bodies. The Democrats are nominating people who campaign with Hassan Piker, who is an overt Nazi. Democrats like Liz Warren and Senator Murphy of Connecticut are supporting Nazis. And people forget that several thousand Jews, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but several thousand Jews supported Hitler in the 1932 German election. They said, look, Hitler will be good for the economy. He'll be good for employment. Yeah, so he doesn't like the Jews. Big deal. That's what's happening today. People like Senator Warren and Senator Murphy are supporting Nazis because these Nazis claim that they're good for democratic economic values. And I can't have any association with a party that embraces these neo-Nazis. Now, the Republicans have a problem too. The Republicans have Tucker Carlson and they have a few other people like that, but the Republicans have done a better job in marginalizing their neo-Nazis, whereas the Democrats have embraced them. And until the Democrats return to the roots of the Democratic Party that I knew them in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I can't be associated with the Democratic Party, and I will try to see the Democrats defeated in the midterm elections. I don't want to see Democrats control the Senate, control the House, or control the presidency, as long as the Democratic Party is controlled by the hard left, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel radicals that today are controlling the Democratic Party. So I'm proud to have left that party. I wish it didn't have to happen, but I'm going to stick with my principles, not with my party.
So that takes us to New York, which became a democratic now, but with a new political shift and the rise of Zohran Mamdani. Are you concerned about the future and security of the New York Jewish community?
I'm concerned much more about the future of the American Jewish community in New York because of American Jews in New York. I'll give you an example. There is a contest for the House of Representatives to replace Congressman Jerry Nadler in the district in which I have my apartment in New York, and my children have their apartments, the Upper West Side, which is the most Jewish congressional district in the United States. And many of the Jews in that district are voting for anti-Israel candidates. In fact, the anti-Israel candidates, many of whom are Jewish, are campaigning as to who can be more anti-Israel. And whoever is the more anti-Israel is going to win. So in New York, we would never have seen an anti-Semite like Mamdani elected without the support of the Jewish people. Again, it's Hitler in 1932. Jews supported Hitler in 1932. Jews support Mamdani. Jews support AOC. Jews support the candidates that have the support of Nazis. So it's an internal problem. And it's largely caused by J Street, which is the most effective anti-Jewish organization and anti-Israel organization in modern history. It claims to be pro-Israel. I've been following it since its beginning. I don't remember very many pro-Israel ads, pro-Israel campaigns by J Street. J Street gives cover to all the anti-Zionist and anti-Israel Jews, particularly, but also non-Jews. And so J Street is the most dangerous organization today in America, much more dangerous than the Nazi Party, than AOC, because they have divided the Jewish community and turned many of them against Israel. I'm not talking about turning them against Israeli policies or against Israeli politicians. I'm talking about turning them against Zionism, against Israel.
So, lastly, we talk about other dangerous institutions. What do you think? Why do you think international law and human rights institutions appear so intensely focused on Israel? Has the legal system been weaponized against the Jewish state?
There is no such thing as an international human rights organization. They're all human wrongs organizations. They are organizations that disguise themselves in the costume of human rights and promote human wrongs. That starts at the United Nations. It goes to Amnesty International. It goes to Human Rights Watch. These are all virulently anti-human rights organizations, anti-civil liberties organizations, anti-free speech organizations, anti-civil liberties, civil rights. And so human rights has been captured. The concept of human rights has been captured by the hard left. I have devoted my life to genuine human rights, as have many other prominent Jewish people like Erwin Cutler and so many others. And we are also disappointed in the way human rights has been abused. Take, for example, the concept of genocide, which was coined by a Jewish human rights activist following the Shoah. And now it's being used not against Sudan, it's not being used against China, it's not being used against Iran, it's being used against the nation state of the Jewish people. Apartheid, which Jews fought against. They were leaders of the campaign. I was one of Nelson Mandela's lawyers. But now apartheid is a label that's being falsely attached to Israel. So all the labels of human rights, the concepts of human rights, and the organizations of human rights have been turned against human rights and turned against Israel. So those of us who support genuine human rights and support human rights for Jews and for Israelis, as well as for others, have to associate with new organizations and develop a new vocabulary of genuine human rights.
Thank you so much, Professor Dershowitz, for resilience, spirit, for standing for Israel. We love you so much, really. Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your great questions. They really gave me an opportunity to express a wide variety of views about important subjects. So keep doing great things, and thanks again for having me.
Now shifting from the courtroom to the ballot box. In our anti-Semitism and fake news segment, we are looking at California. In an unprecedented move, official state election pamphlets are being used to spread blatant smears against Israel. How did propaganda make its way into a government guide? Take a look.
California, you knew this was not okay. You knew and you chose to publish this. This is our voter information guide. It is the official one from the state. So let's open it up. I am born and raised in California. I am used to California crazy. We get a lot of pages of these governor candidate statements. Now, I want you to notice there is a lot of variety with these different California statements, okay? So this one, Gary, he's just got like one line there. And then we also have Tony, and he's got like a whole paragraph. This one, where it says candidate statements governor, it literally says the views and opinions expressed by the candidates are their own and do not represent the views and opinions of the Secretary of State's office. I would like you to notice that none of the other candidates have this warning. California, you knew this was not okay. This is not, oh, oops, our bad, how did that get in there? You knew it while you were writing it. And you tried to cover yourself by publishing horrible things about Jewish.
California, wake up. This is not a mistake, as you saw. This is something systematic. These are people who are working really hard against the Jewish community. And I think it's time to show who the people behind the articles. If the freedom of speech, right? You can't sue anybody.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. So let's use our freedom of speech to expose the people that chose to discriminate.
But the state of California mailed blood libel to almost every household in the state using taxpayer money. So if you're a Californian and you're not angry about this, you should be. On top of that, don't tell me it's freedom of speech. These people who are saying, oh, well, let's let freedom of opinion, freedom of speech. If something like this were written about Muslims and put in that book, it would never go out in a million years.
Yeah.
100%. You know, I cheer to this woman because she bothered to read the entire pamphlet.
Probably nobody reads it, and that, right? The only reason now they'll read it is because of that.
Seriously, the California is losing its voters, it's losing its people. California becomes something similar to New York, when it become more progressive, more liberal. And you see, for instance, San Francisco. San Francisco is emptied out from Jews, from conservative, and they all have like homeless and like the third world residents. If California continues this route, very, very soon she'll be like a place for homeless. That's all.
Yeah. What I'm still saddened that Jews and artists and the gay community arrive to a place, make it wonderful, bring life to it, art, and then the real estate goes up. And this is, by the way, this is historically true. Every piece of real estate started with Jews, artists, and the gay community. These are the three components that actually make life great.
What the elections in California has to do with Israel?
Everything.
Why Israel has to be a subject matter for every
obsession, because it's called an obsession.
On purpose, because he will give him a vote. He will give him the audience. He will give him, yes, there is maybe a big chance that he's going to win because of this. They use Israel and the Jew for collecting more voices. Yeah.
We're celebrating the Americans who made Aliyah and are now using social media to laugh at the differences between American and Israeli culture. Take a look. Similar.
It's actually true. I have a dog, and I will let the
guests take him out?
to take him out sometimes while you are busy making the food. Come on.
Yeah, what do they come for? Everybody has a job.
Yeah.
We Israeli don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so free for us to ask someone for a favor and not like to be polite.
Life is hectic. You can have a missile coming tomorrow.
Yeah, easy going. Happy to be Israeli. And happy for the American to make Aliyah, make more.
Yeah.
They listened to our show the last time that I said they need to come.
Here you go.
Happy they watch our
Good
show.
for you, Titi.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you very much for this amazing show. It started very sad and serious, but ended with a laugh. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on All Caps. Stay strong, stay proud, and we'll see you next time.